People ask Reddit. Have you ever had a period where you ducked like rabbits with someone? When was it? How much was it? And do you miss the days? In my 30s, we ducked literally every second we had available. We would go all weekend naked, and screw every time I could get it up. I miss those days. The first 2 years with my wife, before we were married or even had an idea of what marriage was, we ducked like absolute animals. Whenever we would be alone together, clothing would be slipped aside and ducking would go down. 5 days/nights a week, multiple times during each day/night. I miss those days greatly, but I'm more hydrated now. A girl I was seeing wanted to go see a friend, so we drove to their city a couple states away. We got to the hotel and ducked, then ducked again, and eventually we had spent an entire 5 days ducking, napping, ordering pizza and ducking more. Never even called the friend. 10 tenths. When I first met my son's mom, we would have sex maybe 3 times a day. This was 9 years ago now. Note from B-Town Reddit stories. The author never answered why he called her my son's mom. With my ex-GF pretty much the whole time we were together. The sex was so intense and incredible that it blinded us to how incompatible our personalities were. My ex-GF and I had so much sex, all of the time. And we were swingers, so we frequently brought others into the fold with us. That was able to keep us together for about 2.5 years. The last half a year or so was miserable. Still ducked like rabbits during it, but it was just empty. Dated for 2 years and the entire relationship was built on constant sex. Happy time? Duck. Sad time? Duck. Bored? Duck. Angry? Yell and duck. Eventually some life got in the way of our ability to constantly go at it, and the realization that we were awful for each other dawned on me. I don't miss the relationship, but I do miss having 6+ quickies a day sometimes. This girl I was casually seeing, and I would literally have sex then stop for food and water breaks and resume all day when we would hang out for like a month straight. Then when I was at work she would spam me with nudes. Yeah, I miss those days. Turns out she was not in an open relationship and her BF got pissed. When I first met my husband, we stick to finger foods, because we were literally eating in bed. I got in trouble once for taking a bite of a cheesesteak sandwich during sex, just like George Costanza, but the sex was too good to stop, the sandwich was amazing, and I was so hungry. Reply. When I first moved in with my wife when we were dating, my end table by my bed was a mini fridge. It was a tiny little 2-bedroom apartment, but I'm a slut for chips and dip and nobody wants to get up to put the dip back in the fridge when you're comfy. My BF and I did when we started dating. It was fun, we would have sex like 2 times a day every day to every other day, it was a lot. But we both kinda agree that we like how our relationship has matured. We still have sex often though. When my girlfriend and I started having sex we would duck around 5 times a day for a couple of weeks. Only time I remember having to buy condoms in bulk because of it, lol. Been over a decade since I was in the only relationship where this happened. Time before, uni, class, ducking. Gap between classes, ducking. After class most days, ducking. It was Pound Town for a full year. Granted, this was after she had spent 6 months cheating on me and we were trying to work through it or something. It was just a band-aid on internal bleeding, so when that relationship crumbled, it crumbled fast. She was dating the guy within 2 months and married him within 6. After reflecting, I'm under no delusion that the cheating ever stopped. I'm just glad I didn't catch anything. First year with my husband, 12 years ago. We got it on at least 2x a day. He comes back fast, so sometimes it was more like 7-10x per day. It was great, but we literally did nothing else, like my bills were late not because we didn't have money, but we spent each waking hour ducking. Now we average about 1-2x per week and it's still great and we are still hopelessly in love. Yeah, this old duck buddy from like 7 or 8 years ago. We'd hooked up before, but we went out for drinks in an attempt to get to know each other a little bit better. After one drink, we ended up in the bathroom. Put her panties in my pocket, came in her, and went back to the bar with it dripping down her leg. We ducked for about 6 hours straight, and I think I came 4 or 5 more times. I still want just like 5 more minutes with her. If you want to support our new channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. We would also love to read some feedback in the comments. Thank you very much. I'm coming up on 15 years of having the husband's last name. Thank Duck his parents live local-ish near us, and they like playing grandma and grandpa with our herd of munchkins, takes them off our hands for a while every so often. Those times it's just the two of us. If there's a flat surface in our house that A can hold me, B, we haven't christened, repetitively, then I don't really know what it would be, lol. But yes, anyways, Lamau, those periods come and go whenever we can pull of the logistics of things. When I was 18, with the guy I lost my virginity to, we would duck just for the sake of ducking, sometimes neither of us would even finish. Good times. In college, when me and my wife were dating, we'd screw almost every day or every other day. But life was simpler and I had less to stress about. My BF's nickname for me in high school was Bunny for a reason. My BF and I ducked several times a day after school and on the weekends. I've always had that kind of drive and would be the same way now, but my husband has some health issues that get in the way at times. I miss those days, but not the person. I'd love to have that with my husband. A guy I met with and had a whole evening of fun with in February last year. That was a very intense 4 hours of fun. Never had anything like that. In my teens, I dated this girl for 3 years through high school, and we lived in the same neighborhood. After school, get off the bus with her, go to her place and duck. On weekends, go her place and duck. She was a sweet girl too. She'd come over to my house on school mornings to wake me up with a glass of orange juice, lol. All of this continued for the full 3 years, until she left me because she was bored, lol. Whenever my partner came back to town, we would try to see how many creams he could give me before he left. Just days and days of ducking with only breaks for food and occasional work calls. It was absolute bliss. A decade ago, I was dating a 20-year college student. I was 46, the first date we went back to mine and literally spent the whole night going in it. We only stopped the next morning when she had to get to a class. We dated for 9 months and every day we spent together was like that. Just crazy sexual attraction, and our kinks meshed perfectly. I miss her, but sex was really the only thing that we had in common. There was a period that started a few months after I began dating my now wife where we were having sex 3 to 4 times every time we hung out. It was probably 12 times a week. I think our record was 7 times in 24 hours. I was in my late 20s. I was working as a bartender and I hooked up with one of the cocktail waitresses. Hands down, she was the most smoking hot woman that I've been with. We hit it off and decided to take a few days off, went to Vegas, and ducked each other crazy nonstop for 3 days straight. We literally only left the room for about an hour a day to either go eat or replenish our booze. We did things that I have never done before and some things that I have yet to do again. We never made it a couple thing because, as it turned out, she had a boyfriend that I didn't find out about until after. Then as time moved on, she turned out to be batshit crazy, and not the good kind of crazy. I had to leave that memory as a one-off, but she was hands down the best duck that I had ever had. My ex and I, when we were just friend with benefits, ducked wherever we could each time we saw each other. Closed facilities like schools, kindergartens, daycare centers, rehab centers, playgrounds, parking buildings, didn't have car, at work, wherever. No, I don't miss it because it was with her and it was a bad time of my life. Will I do the same thing with someone someday? Yeah, probably. Yes. This girl I was dating, like 8 years ago. We both had to catch up with some stuff. We ducked at least twice when we saw each other. Sometimes we had an amazing Sunday with just Star Wars, pizza and sex in between. I think once we were going 5 or 6 times. Sometimes I like to think about these days. It was more than 2 years ago when I got out of a relationship and a workmate, friend of mine, also got out of a relationship. What better way to release all that anger and frustration than through multiple instances of sex? The first time it happened, it was non-stop sex for more than 3 hours. Afterwards, it became 4 hours, then 3, then 2, then 1.5 an hour. Then, we just got on with our lives. I guess we both just needed some form of release. I'm in a new relationship now, and same with her. We regularly have updates about our lives through social media. My wife and I would do whole weekends naked and fucking whenever we could until kids started coming along. We still do it occasionally. Not like when we first got together, though. First serious high school girlfriend. We took each other's virginity. After that first time, it was like the floodgates opened up. We ducked anywhere and everywhere we could, multiple times at a time. It wasn't uncommon to go back to back to back. Reply: the hentai plot I love. So, I just had a kid, but when I was pregnant I was insatiable. I wore out my poor husband. Before we had kids, we got it on at least once a day for 2 years. In the past, with certain girls I dated or hooked up with, the sex was at least once a day as well. Man, I miss that. These days I'm lucky if we have sex once every week or 2. It's really depressing actually and can be pretty frustrating. Having sex pretty much whenever I felt like it was easy to get used to. In my fantasies, I would have a couple free used girls around to do my bidding 7 days a week. It would sure improve my mood. That will never be a reality though, sad to say. My longtime girlfriend and I broke up but stayed close. A year after we both started seeing other people, we both ended up out of town to go to a concert. Ended up spending the 2 days in her hotel ducking like rabbits. It sounds crazy when I think of it, but we each came something like 15 times in the 2 days. We were either sleeping, ducking, or eating, and we actually did go to the concert. There was a lot of jealousy for both of us that drove it, I think. Thank you for listening to another B-Town Reddit Stories episode. Hit the subscribe button and check out our channel for more stories. Let us know your opinion about this topic in the comments.